Ekisomooza kiri waggulu okirina.
Kiri eri.
Like opening a classes. Mati yagambye mwe mubirina.
Obadde oyagala ekigenda
byonna.
Biri eri ewa sekandi. To produce more goods and services. So here, when the labor is equipped with the necessary skills, it produces more output, and that more output will lead to an increase in national income. Then we have also another command language here, improve on infrastructure. So this one is also used to answer questions that require us to answer in the future tense. They're saying the government should improve on infrastructures such as roads to increase access to raw materials and market centers. So when these roads are well constructed and improved, they facilitate movement of raw materials from where they are produced to the industrial sectors. And after industries have produced goods, these roads as well facilitate transportation of those finished goods to market centers. So you're saying in the end, this stimulates investment and leads to production of more goods and services, leading to an increase in national income. Another point, we have provide investment incentives. So an investment incentive is like a subsidy, a tax holiday that is given to the investors. So it's a subsidy. The other time I said it is free money from the government that is given to producers to reduce their costs of production. Then with the tax holiday, they give you a grace period before you begin paying taxes. So when these two are given, they attract more investors, and that will lead to production of more goods and services, hence leading to an increase in the size of national income. Then also undertake entrepreneurial training, stroke manpower planning. So the government should embark on improving entrepreneurial skills in the country, for example, through organizing seminars and workshops, so as to increase on the number of entrepreneurs who can mobilize and organize other factors of production and as well bear risks. So these entrepreneurs are the ones who are responsible for undertaking risks and organizing other factors of production to produce more goods, and services. So when this entrepreneurial training is undertaken, then we are able to see more supply of entrepreneurs in the country, and this will increase the level, will lead to an increase in output, which leads to an increase in national income. Then also have improved economic planning and management. So the sectors in the economy should be properly planned for and well managed. So the different sectors should be planned for, and this will lead to production of more goods and services, thereby increasing the size of national income. So planning, this one is to do with the budget and the ministry that is responsible for planning for a country, which is Ministry of Finance and the Economic Planning. So when the planning is done, properly and it is well managed, then it leads to production of more goods and services, especially if the budget, if a bigger proportion of the budget is put aside, is if we budget more for investment, or what we call productive let me see. So if we don't plan to have consumption expenditure, but rather productive, so if that is done, then we're able to do more investments in the country, and that will lead to production of more goods and services. Then we as well undertake further privatization, where here the government encourage private investors to take up most of the collapsing state enterprises with the aim of increasing production of goods and services. So when this privatization is done, and now the state enterprises are transferred to private enterprises, then the private individuals increase efficiency in those enterprises, and that will lead to production of more goods and services, which will in the end lead to an increase in national income. Then we can as well have mechanization of agriculture. I think here the best word should be mechanized agriculture. Modernization. Okay, let me first leave it at that. Mechanization of agriculture, modernization. So here is where we have to adopt new methods of doing agriculture by employing modern tools and equipments. So I think the government should encourage irrigation and application of modern farm equipments by the farmers. So this is aimed at increasing agricultural output, thereby leading to an increase in national income. That the government should encourage irrigation, like for example, since we have our River Nile, so we should use the River Nile waters to do the irrigation, such that with irrigation we are able to have constant supply of agricultural output, and that will increase the produce from the agriculture sector, leading to an increase in national income. So with agriculture, we mainly rely on natural factors. When it is a rainy season, that is when we plan to do agriculture, to do the planting and etc. But if we can do the irrigation, then that will ensure that we have a constant supply of agricultural products on the market, and that will lead to increase in output and as well increase in national income. Then we have expansion of markets, both local and foreign, should be encouraged. Or if you want to use the command language, you say expand both local and foreign markets. So we are our explanation is saying the government should continue with the policy of identifying new markets and expanding the existing ones. So I'm saying a widened market promotes investment, leading production of more goods and services, thereby increasing the size of national income. So these markets can be expanded through joining regional economic integrations like the East African market, the East African community. Then we have also COMESA, which is common markets for Southern and Eastern Africa. So when we join those markets, we expand the market. So when we join those regions, those communities, we expand the market, and that encourage more investors to come and invest in our country. And that will lead to production of more goods and services. And those more goods and services will lead to an increase in national income. Another point we have, ensure economic stability. So with economic stability, we are looking at the behavior of prices in the market. So are the prices stable? So when the prices are stable, so which we are saying ensure economic what? Stability. So the government should ensure economic stability in form of stable prices of goods and services. So the prices should be stable. So I think this is achieved through setting up a maximum price and maintaining it for a reasonable period of time. So I'm saying stable prices encourage investment, leading to production of more goods and services, thereby leading to an increase in national income. So here we are looking at prices being stable, and those prices encourage investors to invest in more in and produce more goods and the services. But let me first attend to someone here, then I get Okay, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, I was talking to some parent here. So we were on economic stability, ensuring economic stability, and saying the government should ensure economic stability in form of stable prices for goods and services. So I'm saying these stable prices are achieved through maximum price and then maintaining it for a reasonable period of time. So these prices, the stable prices, encourage investors to invest and produce more goods and services. And in the end, this will lead to an increase in output and an increase in national income. Then we also ensure political stability. So when the countries, so we are saying this is aimed at giving confidence to the investors, thereby making it possible to produce more goods and services. So investors wish to invest in a country where there are no conflicts, where there are no wars, where the political climate is very stable, because they want to be assured of safety for their life and property. So when that is available, then they invest and produce more goods and services, and that will lead to an increase in national income. Another point, you're saying further diversification of the economy should be promoted. This is done through development of tourism, expansion of industry and the service sector. So this can reduce dependence on one economic activity, which in our case as Uganda is agriculture. and this results into increased production and increase in national income. So with the diversification is where we are encouraged to engage in a variety of economic activities so that we ensure that we produce more goods and services when we are engaged in a variety of economic activities, and that will lead to increase in production and as well increase in national income. Yes, everyone. Okay. Okay, please. So with the diversification is we engage in a variety of economic activities, so that will lead to an increase in production and an increase in national income. Point 14 says further liberalization, trade liberalization can be implemented. So with the trade liberalization is where we see a removal of unnecessary trade restrictions. For example, trade embargo, where we restrict the quantity that should be taken outside or brought inside. They're saying this is done by removing government controls on trade. Therefore, producers are able to produce more goods and with a large measure of freedom, hence increasing national income. So here the government should remove all the necessary or the unnecessary trade restrictions. So this will motivate producers to produce more goods and services, lead to an increase in output and national income. So that is to do with what should be done to increase the size of national income in our country. So here we are going to, I think I will draft some questions and send them to you. Okay, then we can now move to measurements, measurement of national income. So we are going to begin by looking at why do we need to measure national income? I think some time back you asked this question to that why do we, or why is it necessary to measure national income? So we're saying these are the importance or reasons why we measure national income, or why is it important to measure national income. So it is, but when they ask why, then we put two in our answers. So the two should begin, okay? When they ask for why is there a need to measure national income? So I can say begin by using 2 or 4. So we can say for economic analysis and planning to determine the standards of living of people in the country, to compare welfare of the country over time, and etc. But if they just ask for the importance of compiling, or computing national income, then you can just state them like the way it is here. Okay. So we are going to begin with the what is here. I'm saying national income figures are useful for economic analysis and planning. So I'm saying national income statistics provide useful information to the government, which can be used for current and future economic planning. For example, national income figures are used when preparing the national budget and prospective, or in brackets what we are calling long-term plans. So major when we are planning for country, when we are making a budget for the next year, we look at what we have been able to achieve this year in terms of the volume of goods and services, what we call the GDP. Then we base on that. So we base on the GDP to plan for the year ahead, or the year that is in we intend to plan for. So we base our planning on what is already available. So we use the figures that are available and we use them to do the planning. Then point 2, it is used to determine the standards of living of people in the country. So here for standards of living, we are going to, that one is based on per capita income. So per capita income, we had said, is the average income of individuals in the country. So I think total income divided by total population in a country to obtain per capita income. So the per capita income indicates the level of economic welfare of the people in the country. So here, when the per capita income is high, that would mean that individuals have high incomes, which they use to buy goods and services, and hence they enjoy better standards of living. But the reverse, if the per capita income is low, then they have little incomes with them, and then they buy less of goods and services, and the standards of living will be low. So it is used to determine the standards of living of people in the country. Then point 3, it is used to compare welfare in a country over time. So we can be able to compare 2 different years. So the per capita income figures of different years are compared to enable the government to identify the year in which people's welfare was better. So still, when we compute per capita income for different years, we are able to tell that in a certain year, people's standards of living were high compared to other years. So these 3 points which are following each other are almost about the same point. So we are also saying national income figures are used to compare the standards of living between countries, or we are saying in brackets for international comparison. So we are able to compare the standards of living between 2 countries. So we are saying national income figures are computed to compare the GDP, GNP, or per capita income of different countries. For example, the per capita income of Uganda can be compared with that of Kenya to find out whether an average Ugandan is better off than an average Kenyan. So we use these figures to compare standards of living between countries. So if if our per capita income is higher than that of Kenya, then it means our average Ugandans are better off than average what? Kenyans. But if it is low and the one of Kenya is high, then we are able to tell that an average Kenyan is better off than an average Ugandan. So it is used for international comparison. So we can compare standards of living between two countries. Then national income figures are also used to determine whether an economy is growing, stagnant, or declining. So we're saying if the national income increases over time, so if there is an increase in national income this year, the next year, the following year, and the other year, so that means the economy is growing. And if those figures remain constant, or more or less the same over time. So this year it is 50, the next year it is 50 trillion, the other year it is 50 trillion. So that means that economy is stagnant. Then if the national income is falling over time, so it keeps on reducing with time, 1 year it is 50, the other year it is 45, the following year it is 30. So that will be an indicator that the economy is declining. So here we are saying it is used to determine whether an economy is growing, stagnant, or declining. Then point 6, it is used to show income distribution. So here we are saying national income figures show how income is distributed among the various factors of production and the different sectors of the economy. So I'm saying this helps government to design appropriate policies to ensure a more equitable distribution of income. So during the process of national income computation, which methods we are about to see. So those methods, as we try to compute the national income, we are able to know which sectors are contributing what to national income. So after that, we are able to tell that in these sectors, people have a lot of income as compared to other sectors. So when the government identifies that, then it designs appropriate policies like taxation, where some individuals and some companies are made to pay more taxes than others, such that that money received in form of taxes can be redistributed to the other sectors by provision of social services like education, communication lines, and etc. So that will ensure that there is equitable distribution of income. But our major point is that it is used to show income distribution. And then point 7, it helps to show the expenditure patterns within a country. So national income figures reveal public and private sector expenditure when the expenditure approach is used. So when we come to expenditure approach, we shall see that the national income is obtained by adding up all the expenditures made by different sectors in the economy. So when the expenditure approach is used, we are able to know the expenditures of both public and private sectors. So for instance, it is possible to identify how much government spends on services like education, healthcare, transport, defense, and security. So we are able to tell when we use the expenditure approach. So we are able to tell how much government spends on education, how much government spends on health, how much government spends on transport, defense and security. So by knowing that, we are able to show expenditure patterns within a country. Then it is used to identify the leading and lagging sectors in the economy. So national income figures show economic performance of different sectors of the economy. So during the process of computation, we are able to identify which sectors are contributing much and which sectors are producing less. So the one who's producing much will be the leading sectors, and the one who's producing less will be the lagging sectors. We are saying this enables the government to identify the sectors that are growing at a faster rate, those that are growing at a slower rate, such that measures are taken to uplift the performance of the lagging sectors, and at the same time maintain growth of the leading sectors. So this helps the government to put up measures to make sure that those lagging behind are given some aid to uplift them. So we put up measures on how we can make those lagging sectors also perform, and as well maintain those sectors that are leading. Then number 9, we are saying the income figures, national income figures, are used to request for foreign aid. So in most cases, when you find after you have done the planning, you need more resources than what you have, then you can solicit or you can request for foreign aid. We are saying donors always need information about national income so that they can select appropriate sectors that they can give assistance. So this is done when the national income figures are available. That is when these donors are able to give us money, because they select which sectors they can give assistance to. Then point 10, national income figures show the extent of dependence in an economy. They're saying national income figures assist the government to identify the sectors on which the country largely depends. So major those are the sectors that contribute highest to growth domestic product. So in our case, that one is agriculture. It is the one that contributes more to growth domestic products. But we are able to tell that after compiling national income figures. The national income figures are useful, or are useful when carrying out research. So these national income statistics are used by research scholars of economics in regard to a country's input, output, income, savings, consumption, investment, and employment, which are obtained from net national income and net national expenditure. So when this information is available, when these national income statistics are available, they are a basis for research scholars of economics to carry out research. So they are able to study information regarding a country's input in terms of raw materials, output in terms of what they produce, for example, in terms of goods and services, then the incomes which people receive after contributing to the production process, then how much of that income is saved, consumed, the investments that are done, among others. So this information is available when we compute national income figures. Then our point 12 says national income figures show the level of resource exploitation. So a high level of national income indicates increased and better utilization of the country's available resources. That if the national income figures are high, that is an indicator that we are using our resources maximally and we are utilizing them better. While a low level of national income indicates underutilization of the country's resources. So we are able to tell that when those income figures are used or are available. Then, as we had earlier said in one of the points, national income figures are used for taxation purposes. So the government is able to identify which sectors should be taxed, which sectors should not be taxed, among others, by looking at how much those sectors receive in terms of incomes and how they spend. So there the government is in position to carry out taxation. So you answer this question, which says, the assignment says, why do countries compile national income statistics? Okay, I said that question because it has a why. We have to use our keywords should be to, okay, for which other one? So measure those two. Then you as well do what? Do the explanation. Any question before we go to the methods of computing national income?
No.
Okay. So among the methods or approaches of measuring or calculating or estimating or computing national income. So there are majorly three methods that we use. So the one is the income approach. Then we have the expenditure approach, and then the output stroke product stroke value added approach. So basically, I think for now we are going to look at the two, the income and the expenditure approach. So with the income, we add up, we simply add up the incomes that are received by persons and enterprises for rendering the productive services in the economy in a given year. And in here, we are just looking at payments to factors of production. So that is what we are looking at. So it is the incomes that are received by those factors of production. So we are saying under this approach, national income is equal to wages, which is a payment to labor, interest, which is a payment to capital, rent, which is a payment to land, and profit, which is a payment to entrepreneur. Then we minus the transfer earnings, transfer incomes, those incomes that are received without no work done. So under this approach, national income is equal to wages plus interest plus rent plus profit. So we're saying transfer earnings are excluded so as to avoid double counting. So we because it might be received and then it is given as a payment to other factors. So it is a transfer received without no work done. But here in this approach, our focus is mainly on payments to factors of production for rendering productive services in the economy. So we have this approach is associated with some problems. So we are saying problems associated with this method. So inadequate information. So most of us, in most cases, are not willing to reveal how much we earn. So we are saying individuals have different sources of income, which are not known to the government. Many are self-employed and not willing to declare their incomes in fear of high taxation. So I'm saying as a result, the national income figures in this circumstance are either underestimated or overestimated, simply because individuals have different sources of income and they are not willing to declare these incomes because of fear of high taxations. Then second point, difficulty in identifying transfer payments. So these transfer payments are hard to identify. So I think such payments should be excluded when calculating national income figures. Otherwise, double counting may do what? May arise. We are saying, however, it may not be easy to identify the transfer payments, hence a problem of double counting. So sometimes it is hard to tell which payment is a transfer payment. Then inability to identify incomes from abroad for those who work abroad. So I'm saying income from employment of labor abroad is in most cases excluded when computing national income. So we're saying this is so because this information is difficult to collect. So you can't now begin calling people who are working in Abu Dhabi, in America, in Europe, and you say how much do you earn there, okay? So it becomes difficult to earn, and the people there are also, those who are working outside are now also quite many. So it becomes very difficult to collect information on people's incomes in regard to those who are working abroad. Then it is difficult to identify incomes from illegal activities. So remember at the beginning, we said income from illegal activities should not be included when estimating national income, but but it is also difficult to identify incomes from such illegal activities such as prostitution and gambling. So I'm saying it is not got out of productive. So these incomes are not got out of productive activities. So since this income is not got from is got from unproductive activities, so sometimes it leads over estimation of national income figures when it is excluded, when it is included. So I'm saying, however, in most cases, such incomes are not excluded, and this leads over estimation of national income. Then point 6, difficulty in identifying incomes from unpaid for services. I think some services are rendered, but they are not paid for. For example, family labor, housewife services, among others. So these, since these services are not paid for and they are productive, national income is underestimated. So it can be hard to tell your father that pay me for the work I've done at home. Okay, so it becomes an unpaid forward service, but when you have actually rendered a productive activity, so those services are unpaid for and they lead to underestimation of national income. Any question about the income approach?
No.
Okay, we go to expenditure approach. So with the expenditure approach, we look at the total amount of money spent on final goods and services by private consumers, or what we call households, business firms, the government, and the foreign trade sector, or what we call the external sector. So within the external sector, we get the net, what we spend out, and what we get. So the X minus M. So X are imports. Let me see. X is expenditure by overseas buyers on exports when they buy our exports. So that is the X. Then M is the expenditure by domestic buyers on imports when we buy exports. So under this approach, national income is equal to C plus I plus G plus X minus M. So the X minus M, is the difference between what we spend on buying goods from abroad and what we spend on and what we get. So X is, we said, is expenditure by overseas buyers on exports, and then M is the domestic expenditure by buyers on imports. So that is the approach, expenditure approach, where we look at the expenditures, we add up the expenditures of different sectors in the economy. So I think national income arrived at by the use of this approach is known as national income at market prices, because it is obtained by summing up the payments made for goods and services in the market in a given period of time. So this one we base on the current year, on the current market prices of goods and services. And that is why we are saying it gives us national income at market price, because the goods and services are valued at current market, at current prices of goods and services. So this approach as well has some problems, and one of them, it is difficult to distinguish between final and intermediate expenditure. There are some goods like sugar, which can be used as a final good and at the same time as an intermediate good to produce other goods like cakes and etc. So it is difficult to identify which sugar was used for final and which sugar was used for intermediate. So it becomes difficult to distinguish between final expenditure and intermediate expenditure. Then also have inadequate information. In most cases, it is very hard to obtain information on expenditure, especially on personal expenditure, private investment expenditure, and government expenditure. So in most cases, most people are not willing to reveal how much they spend. And this becomes a limitation to this method. They're saying this is because most people do not keep records of their expenditure, and this leads to underestimation of national income figures. So do you normally take a record of how much you spend?
No.
So I think you're already seeing it. So it is a problem. So most of us do not keep records in regard to our expenditures. So there is limited or inadequate information. Then a difficulty in estimating expenditure on imports. So saying these should be excluded from national income statistics. So saying there are many people involved in international trade, and it is very hard to get information regarding expenditure on imports. This leads to underestimation or overestimation. So with the expenditure on imports, so it becomes very hard to correct that information because there are very many people who are now involved in the import trade. Then also have difficulty in identifying expenditure on transfer payments. So people do not can't tell you how much they have given out in terms of transfer payments. They have given out to people in terms of gifts, prizes, among others. So I think this should be excluded from national income. However, private people and government are not willing to reveal such information. So the government cannot tell you we gave out this and this so much money to so and so and etc. Private individuals cannot tell you that yesterday I gave out money to somebody who was hungry and they got food to eat. Is that okay? So you're going to add my numbers which I gave you. I think one is up here. I think it's one number. Why do countries compile national income statistics? So you as well do it, and then when you finish, you submit it for review. So because of time, because I had some other engagement at 4, I think we shall meet for submath on Thursday.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Bye.